Now you clicked on this video here today to hear me talk about this new Arrow Video 4K UHD limited edition release of the 1998 tech noir, which is a mixture of film noir and science fiction, but the film we are here to discuss is none other than Dark City. Now, you will recall I previously talked about this when it was announced. Here's one that they announced to release, and that is Dark City. And here we are several months later, and guess what? Check it out. I have the limited edition in hand. And in this video, we're going to talk about this limited edition. We're going to talk about the 4K transfer. We're going to open this up. I'm going to show you the contents inside. I'm also going to talk I'm going to talk a little bit about the movie. I'm going to talk about my impressions of the movie the first time I saw it and the updated impressions upon this new watch. And if you would do me a favor and go ahead and like this video. I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films. Let's get into it. All right, let me bring you back to 1998. So there I was in the movie theater watching this on the big screen. And I got to tell you, I thought it was brilliant. And I still do. But at the time, it was like, wow, that is really amazing. The mood and the expressionist, like the cinematography and the film noir aspect of it mixed with science fiction. And the cast here is amazing, including Rufus Sewell, who I wasn't familiar with at the time, but also Kiefer Sutherland, William Hurt, and Jennifer Connelly. All very amazing in the film, and we're going to talk about their performances here a little bit more in just a bit. But about a year later, I went to the theater and I saw another film. This was The Matrix with Keanu Reeves that everybody knows about. And that film, I wasn't as impressed with it as most people are at the time. And that's mostly to do with this movie because it had some very striking similarities to it. Now, The Matrix, I think maybe it resonates better with people than this film because of I think because it kind of starts off seeming like it's in present day time, and it's got Keanu Reeves in it too, but he goes into this office kind of area and he goes to raves. So it was kind of like at the time like that seemed like present day, but then it flips into a different reality, just like this one does. But this one right away, you're not in the right place, you know, because it's like you got So let me tell you a little bit about the setup of this thing. Rufus Sewell plays a character named John Murdoch. So he wakes up in this apartment and he doesn't remember who he is. And he wakes up and there's all kinds of weird shit going on. There's like a broken syringe on the floor. There's like a goldfish on the floor that he has to take and put it in the toilet, in the bathtub, which is full of water, to save the goldfish. But then he finds a murdered woman in the room, and all this is happening, and he doesn't remember who he is. Now something has happened to his brain, and what is it? But in the theatrical version of this, which there are two versions on this. There's the theatrical version and there is the director's cut version, which the director's cut has about 11 additional minutes. Most of that's just extended scenes, and it helps with the character development some. So I like the extra scenes. I don't think they distract or detract. The biggest difference is the opening narration at the beginning of the film. So at the beginning of it, Kiefer Sutherland does some narration. He kind of explains a lot of the plot, and it reveals a lot of the earlier secrets, because what happens is Rufus Sewell's character goes out, and then these other guys will kind of black hats or like different sizes. There's like a kid one and a tall one and a normal size one, and then they all look like creepy. They're dressed in like 1940s or 50s gangster like kind of fedoras and things of that nature from like film noirs. So Kiefer Sutherland's character describes this in the narration for the theatrical cut, and he says there's these aliens or whatever, these other beings that came to Earth, and they've kind of taken over, and they do things to people, something of that nature. So you already know from there kind of what's going on. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Most people think it's a bad thing, but I think that for some people, it takes a long time to figure out what the heck's going on if you don't have that information already. So it might take away from the enjoyment of it. Maybe the producers were onto something. I know I tried to get my wife to watch this, and I showed her this new version, and she was just like really off put by the whole thing. Something about it, she didn't like it. And I've seen that happen with other people too. They're just like, they just don't get into it. But she didn't hear the opening narration, and I later on I was like, well, you didn't like it. She only maybe watched like maybe 10 or 15 minutes of it, and she was just like, And I was like, this is what's going on. And I kind of told her what was going on. She goes, okay, that's kind of interesting. So I think that, I don't know. I think maybe like if without that open narration, it might be a problem for some people anyway. So not too long after that, we were introduced to Inspector Frank Bumstead, played by William Hurt. Now here is a secondary protagonist. William Hurt does a very good job, and he adds a lot to the aesthetic of the film noir. Now his wardrobe looks a lot like the Strangers, not the Strangers from the movie The Strangers. I think the Strangers from this film, who were also dressed on the black fedoras and coming. He's got a fedora hat, and he's wearing not really a trench coat like they have, but he's got like a kind of a wool type of coat on that looks somewhat similar. But he's a detective, and as he starts to investigate into what's going on, he starts to realize that things are not quite right in this reality, that it's not quite the reality that it appears to be. The more questions he asks, and he does ask some really great questions, and his reactions are terrific. Jennifer Connelly plays the Rufus Sewell's wife. Jennifer Connelly's character is a lounge singer, and this is really awesome shot when she's first introduced. She has this really cool look on her face, and apparently in the original cut, they had someone else dub her singing voice, but in the director's cut, it is Jennifer Connelly's voice herself. Now, Jennifer Connelly, of course, I've been a fan of hers ever since I first saw Labyrinth back in the day, back when it first came out. I did see this one in the theater, and I thought it was amazing. Her and David Bowie, both terrific in the film. Jennifer Connelly's character, Emma Murdoch, is what she appears initially to be set up as a femme fatale, especially because you have a kind of film noir thing going on. A femme fatale was kind of a deadly woman character who has a hidden agenda. You know, most of the time in these films, she is usually like a villain, but that's not the case at all here with this character. She is the love interest, and she is an innocent character for the most part, and she is also a victim. And they do explore this a little bit. Now, there's a lot going on in this film, so there's not like a lot of time to explore this connection between the two main characters. But this idea of love, even if you forget who you are and you still feel this connection to another person, even when that person forgets who they are, and then just the kind of fate bringing the characters together, that idea has been explored in as the center of a full movie, like, say, for instance, the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with Jim Carrey. That's a good example of it. It's also explored in great detail in Cloud Atlas. Now, it's not the main plot of the film, but it does kind of tie in through different generations of reincarnations of people, and some of the characters do have a love interest that they find in different reincarnations. There's a lot of cool shots in this film, though, like that, and they're very expressionistic. Now, it kind of reminds me of films like City of Lost Children, or recently I did a review of Delicatessen. Now, the review I did of Delicatessen was so good that the director called me up and congratulated me on it. We talked for a few hours. That we really didn't. He didn't call me, but that would have been pretty cool. Now, to round out the cast, now Keith Sutherland appears in this. Now, I definitely recognized him at the time, and I think he's a terrific actor. Now, he was in Stand By Me playing a villain. He was in The Lost Boys playing a villain, and here he plays a no, he doesn't play a villain. He plays a doctor who is kind of working with the bad guys a little bit, but he kind of really doesn't have a choice. But he starts trying to help the main character. He's trying to figure out a way to stop him, and he talks like this. He's like, "My name is Keith Sutherland. I am a doctor." But he talks kind of weird, so it is a little. He talks like he's like kind of can't catch his breath all the time. So I'm not sure what the decision was to talk like that, but it kind of works. But it may be a little annoying too. Now his character, Jennifer Connelly's character, and William Hurt's character, probably in a similar amount of screen time, and it kind of flips between them. So Dark City was directed by Alex Proyas, and he does a really terrific job directing this film. He previously directed the Crow film, the original Crow with Brandon Lee in it. Now, I did a review on this one. This is one of my first video reviews I did on here, and it's probably a little rough, but I did a review on that one. I probably should just redo that review video, and it would be a lot better now. But Alex Proyas directed Dark City, and you can see the influence, the gothic influence, and the film noir influence between The Crow and Dark City. So I do have a Blu-ray copy of Dark City, so I was able to compare the Blu-ray to this new 4K transfer, and I will tell you there is quite a leap in quality between the two. This Arrow video release of Dark City does not have a Blu-ray with it. Often with Arrow releases, they only have one or the other, and sometimes they'll do this thing Like they'll release like say Witness. They'll release it as a 4K, and then or they'll release both the Witness as 4K and a Blu-ray separately. So you have to buy both of them. But right now they don't have a Blu-ray of Dark City. They just have this 4K version, and they have 2 discs in this set. One's got the theatrical, and the other one's got the preferred director's cut. The film has a very interesting color grading to it, and it goes throughout different parts of the film. You may have some extreme green tint or extreme blue tint, but it really looks really cool, and it works well within the film. I would say with this HDR transfer in the 4K, I do see some of that, the bleeding part of that at least, kind of toned down a little bit. The color grading's still there, but occasionally you do have, especially in some of the William Hurt scenes, you do see some of the flesh tones looking a little more natural. But even though this is extremely color graded, and in fact it does work really well within this particular film, and just the science fiction aspect of it and the film noir aspect. I think most notable here in comparison to the Blu-ray are the black levels. Now, if you're looking on the Blu-ray here, the black levels look a little shoddy. They look a little murky. They look a little bit. In some instances, you just see a lot of. I guess it's kind of it looks kind of pixelated and grainy in some of the black, especially really dark areas. Now, this is called Dark City, and this film is very dark throughout. But it actually, in this 4K version, you can see everything very good, and those black levels look terrific. They look very deep, very dark, but they're not crushed. They look at as not necessarily naturalistic, because it is surrealistic in a way, but they don't look murky, and they don't look crushed. You do see some film grain in here. This was shot on film. You do see this film grain. This also has a lot of special effects. The special effects here were cutting edge for when this first came out, and they still hold up for the most part pretty good today. Now near the end of it, it gets a little over the top with some of the special effects, and it gets a little, ever remember The Haunting with Liam Neeson? It kind of from the same time frame, and it was pretty cool until all of a sudden it wasn't. Suddenly out of nowhere, the house like came to life, and it was like the ceiling was coming down, and it just looked all CGI-y. But this has that in it a little bit, not like that, but it's not as. It works better in this film than it does in The Haunting. But it is like some of those special effects look a little dated, but for the most part, everything is still holds up very well. And especially when you think about how different the technology is now than then, it's very impressively done. Now, often most of the close-ups are very sharp, lots of detail. The clarity here is amazing. It's not as much on the Blu-ray, and you can see a big difference in the quality between that and this. There are a few scenes where it is a little soft focus, and that's from the original master. Especially, like, say, the first scene where Jennifer Connelly's character comes in and talks with Keith Sutherland's doctor character, and for some reason her coverage seems a little soft throughout. And it was funny. It's not something I noticed as much when I was watching the film, but when I was like playing it back and just kind of looking at it for different quality and things of that nature, I was like, that seems a little soft. Even like Keith Sutherland sometimes in that same scene seems a little soft. But there is a bit of there's something going on in that scene. I think it's maybe a bit of a haze over the scene, and maybe that haze is kind of responsible for the softness. So let's take a look at this physical packaging, shall we? Now, if I can get it out of the slipcover. Now, there is a slipcover over a slip box here. That's the slip cover. Here is the same artwork on the slip box. On the inside of it, we have some pretty cool stuff. We have 3 items. We have the disc itself. We have a poster, and we have a booklet. The booklet also, here's a shot of Keith Sutherland's doctor on the back side of it. Now, the booklet is most of the time with booklets, you have a lot of some essays in here and things of that nature. On the back side, now what we're going to read, there's also a lot of pictures throughout the book, cool things to take a look at. And these are nice to read, and it adds a lot of value to your collection if you have a booklet with it. I want to read to you a little bit about the transfer. Dark City has been restored by Arrow Films, and is presented in its original aspect ratio of 2:39:1, which is pretty wide there. and a new Dolby Atmos audio mix. Both the theatrical and the director's cut are presented in 4K resolution, HDR10, and Dolby Vision. The original 35mm camera negative was scanned in 4K 16-bit resolution at Warner Brothers Motion Picture Imaging. A 2K master was sourced for the sections unique to the director's cut version. So those 11 extra minutes were sourced from a 2K master. The film was restored in 4K resolution and color graded at Duplatec. This new restored master of Dark City has been approved by the director of photography, and so forth. So it's a very impressive master. I really, this is a good release of Dark City. They did right by it. Let's take a look at this poster. Now, this is a double-sided poster. It has both the original theatrical artwork that we all know and love, and also the new revisionist new artwork. Now, this is the original theatrical artwork, and here is the new poster art. And let me know which one you guys like better. I like both of them. I'm kind of partial to the original, but I do like it that they had a new artist rendition of the poster. That is quite sweet. All right, let's take a quick look at the disc here. Like I said before, there are two discs here. There is the theatrical cut. Well, first off, there's the director's cut, and then there's the theatrical cut. Now, there's also some goodies in here. Now, you see this. This is a business card for Dr. Daniel P. Schreiber. Now, that is Kiefer Sutherland's character. Now, it's a little prop that comes in here as well. On the back, it says, "Never talk to strangers." And then we have a card of Rufus Sewell's character, John Murdoch. And we have one here. The next one up is Jennifer Connelly's lounge singer. And then we have another one of Kiefer Sutherland's Dr. Schreiber character. And there is also a postcard here to Shell Beach. Shell Beach is a fairly important part of the story. Now, most of this film takes place at night. It takes place either outside at night, in Dark City, or inside of the buildings. Now, there are a few scenes in Shell Beach that take place during the day. Most of those are on flashbacks or on cameras' point of views, but I'm not going to spoil it, but it is a fairly important part of the film. There's one other thing inside of here. It is a advertising card for Incubus with William Shatner. That there was an Arrow video release of this previously, and I did a review video of it that turned out just fantastic, and I highly recommend checking that out. Now, I would love to dive more into the psychology behind this movie and more about some of its meanings, but I'm not going to spoil everything. I want you to take a look at this film, but I am going to rate it. I'm going to rate this film on a scale from 1 to 5. Now, Dark City, I'm going to give it, and this is going to seem a little generous. Now, again, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. I'm going to give it a 4.5-star rating, and some of that may be coming from nostalgia and me seeing it on the big screen in 1998. But I really, upon this new watch of the film, I did appreciate it still. I really admire the set design. I think it is fantastic. The production design and the costumes and the wardrobes. I think the performances here, is particularly by Rufus Sewell and William Hurt, even Jennifer Connelly, all fantastic. I really would like to talk more about the themes, but I'm not going to because I don't want to spoil it. I do want you to watch it. Now let's go ahead and rate Arrow's 4K UHD limited edition release of the film, and I'm going to give this a 5-star rating. This is a terrific box set. It is accompanied by an outstanding 4K transfer, which I highly recommend checking this out. And if you are a fan of this film, or this is a must to get this. If you're also a fan of Arrow Video's box sets, this is the way to go. There's probably eventually going to be another release of this from Arrow that's going to be the standard edition. That's not going to have all the bells and whistles. If you just want the film and the 4K, which is that in itself is the best part of it, it's going to eventually going to come out. But right now you can snag this limited edition release. Now, if you would do me a favor and go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and also you see this box right here, you can click on that if you want to continue watching some of my content. I'm going to slowly put up this Incubus. You can check out this Incubus Arrow Video 4K UHD release. And if you would do that, I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films. Thanks for watching.